So it's 7:10 in the morning, and I just pulled into the parking lot of Inspiration Point at Bryce Canyon National Park. And I'm the only one in the parking lot so far. I imagine at least a few people will be joining me at this location. But the reason I'm here is I pulled the trigger this week on one of the biggest purchases I've ever made, and that is the Hasselblad X2D, arguably the best landscape photography camera in the world. And I've been researching this possible purchase for the last couple of weeks, and I kind of reached a point about a week ago where I realized I'd kind of reached the point of no return, where you find, at least for me, when I'm mulling over buying something and I reach a point where I've put enough research into it, it's kind of like, even though you like to believe that you're in control of whether you purchase it or not, there does come a point where you kind of know that you've already talked yourself into it. You just, maybe your conscious mind hasn't accepted that yet. And I definitely reached that point looking into the Hasselblad and all of the amazing features and the just stunning image quality that camera appears to produce. Of course, I don't think that is fully appreciated until you go do something like this for yourself, until you go to a location and then bring home an image and look at it closely to kind of see, relative to your other experiences, what that camera can do. And so I'm definitely looking forward to it. The reason I came to Bryce Canyon specifically is, for such a amazing camera, I wanted to come somewhere that was worthy of a camera of that magnitude to go and capture its first images. So I'm here at Inspiration Point. I've shot one sunrise before here way back when I was on my first Nikon camera, the Nikon D3200. Since then, I have graduated to the Nikon D7500, which was a similar camera, just with a far more robust focusing system, at which point I then moved on to the Z7, which I've been shooting for the last couple of years. And generally, when it comes to upgrading cameras, I like to try to keep a camera for at least a few years to get my money's worth before you upgrade to the next thing. But I got sucked into this Hasselblad thing, and like I said, there was a point where I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna get this thing, even though it's gonna cost an arm and a leg and a lot of my self-respect in terms of my frugality when it comes to purchasing things. Once I really started diving into the research on this thing, I knew I wanted it. I knew that landscape photography being my number one hobby, and probably always will be, I wanted to have the very, very best equipment to do that and bring home the best image quality and the best overall images that I could. And this Hasselblad hopefully is going to allow me to do that. So I guess we'll find out now. I still have about 25 minutes until the light's supposed to hit. And so I don't want to freeze my ass off out there. At the same time, I want to give myself enough time to go out there and find the right composition before the perfect light comes and goes. So we'll get out there and see how it goes. So just driving back from my first experience shooting with the Hasselblad X2D, and what a cool camera. And Bryce Canyon National Park, what a cool place. Utah, we're pretty spoiled here. We've got a lot of beautiful places, lots of great national parks. Bryce Canyon is perhaps the most unique geological phenomenon in the entire United States. And almost certainly I would say so in Utah, despite having Arches and Zion and all these cool places. Bryce just has something special about it. And Bryce is a very intimate experience because it's not just the big, vast landscapes that you see, but it's also, as you hike through every nook and cranny of that park, there's just a different landscape experience around every corner. You know, you go to Zion and it's all out in front of you and it's majestic and it's awesome, but you know, like hiking 100 yards down the trail, your view isn't necessarily going to be any different. But at Bryce, you go around a corner and there's a whole nother world to experience, and you have the experience from above the rim, and then down below is a whole nother thing. Honestly, I have to say, out of the desert national parks, like everything in Utah, in the Southwest, I would say Bryce has got to be my favorite. It's particularly from a photography perspective. It's the kind of park you can go to and just keep your camera in your hand the whole time, because the second you put your camera away, you're going to see something else to shoot. I feel like a place like Zion or Arches, you know, you have kind of more designated places you're going to pull your camera out, but Bryce, you just got to keep that thing in your hand. As far as the Hasselblad goes, what a cool experience using that camera. Up until now, my experience with landscape photography is the camera is merely a tool to go and get the shot. And that's kind of been my relationship with landscape photography as I've shot Nikon over the years, is the camera is there to accomplish the purpose of getting the shot, and it does a wonderful job at that. But the Hasselblad, like, capturing the images is a whole experience in and of itself, to the point where it kind of makes you more present with what you're doing. Everything from the way the camera feels in your hand down to the click that the leaf shutter makes in each lens, it's just I don't know how to describe it other than it just has this way of making you more present in the experience. And not only are you bringing home the images that you capture, which I'm sure these are going to be incredible images, just looking at them on the LCD, I'm already extremely impressed with the colors and the overall quality that I was able to see on a little screen. But also you're bringing home the experience of being connected to your camera and being more motivated, I think, as you walk around to capture more images, because it's such a pleasant experience to hold that camera and to capture images with it. So that's my initial impression. Obviously, I'm going to need more time with the camera to really give a final verdict on it, but I have a hard time believing that I'm not going to have a very positive one as I have more time with the camera and more time looking closer at the images.